Spanakopita, Spanakopita, Spanakopita. I'm trying not to say it wrong. Sup guys, my name is Courtney Budzyn and this is What's for Din. Today I'm going to be showing you guys a twist and a traditional Greek dish called Spanakopita. I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a turkey and sage Spanakopita. The traditional Spanakopita has feta cheese, spinach, but I'm going to show you guys how to make Spanakopita using leftover turkey, roasted butternut squash, and a little bit of Swiss chard. This is so good. It's an explosion of flavors, and I know you guys are gonna love this recipe because it's better than just making turkey sandwiches for about 3 weeks straight because you have so many leftovers. So without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, you wanna go ahead and preheat your oven to 450 degrees, and then you wanna carefully peel a butternut squash. Now these are a little bit on the tougher side to peel and chop, so just make sure you're using a really sharp knife and that you're very careful. And you just want to cut the squash into bite-sized pieces, so about 1/2 inch cubes, and we're going to drizzle on it a little bit of olive oil, and we're also going to season it with salt, pepper, and a little bit of dried sage. Go ahead and give that a good toss, and then you can put it on a baking sheet lined with aluminum foil, and then make sure that they're not right on top of each other so that they roast evenly. And then you can go ahead and throw it in the 450 degree oven for about 25 minutes or just until they're fork tender. And now another really quick step, all we have to do is prepare our Swiss chard. So basically all you want to do is cut the stems out of the leaves because we're going to use the leaves and the stems, but we're going to use them separately in the dish. So once you have the stems separate, you can go ahead and dice those up. And then you can give a rough chop to the leafy part. And you don't want to cut the leafy parts too small because our next step is going to be throwing it in a pan to wilt it down. So in my pan over medium-high heat, I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil. And into that, I'm just going to add my Swiss chard. I'm going to season it with just a little bit of salt and pepper. And we're just looking to wilt this down, so it should only take a couple of minutes. So you can see how small of an amount this actually is once it wilts down. So I'm just going to go ahead and take it out, set it in a bowl, and then set it aside for now. So in the same pan over medium-high heat, we're gonna melt some butter. And to that, we're gonna add some finely diced onion and our Swiss chard stems. I'm gonna season that with a little bit of salt and pepper. And we're just gonna cook this until it gets a little bit soft, and then we'll go ahead and add the garlic. It's softened up quite a bit, so we're gonna go ahead and add our minced garlic. And we're gonna cook this for another 2 minutes or until the garlic's nice and fragrant. And while that's going, I'm actually going to add in my spices. I'm using some dried sage, some dried thyme, and a little pinch of cayenne pepper. As soon as you add those spices, it just smells so amazing. And now I'm going to add some chicken stock. You can definitely use turkey stock if you have any left over, and a little bit of milk. And we're going to go ahead and bring this back up to a simmer. All right, this is nice and hot, so I'm going to go ahead and add in my Swiss chard. And I'm also going to add some leftover turkey. Now, if you don't have leftover turkey, you can definitely use chicken. Obviously, it has to be pre-cooked. And I'm also going to add a little bit of feta cheese. The feta helps add a little bit of a salty flavor, which is really nice in this. And I'm also going to add in my butternut squash. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat. Just give this all a nice toss together, and we can move on to assembling it. So I went ahead and already greased up my 8x8 baking dish with a little bit of olive oil. And what we're gonna do is put a little bit of phyllo dough in the bottom of the pan before we add in our filling. So you can buy phyllo dough at the grocery store pre-made. So as you can see, it comes in these sheets, and it almost looks like it's tissue paper because it's so fine. And as we're working on the layers, you want to make sure that you cover the layers in between working with them because they will dry out really quickly. So all I did was wet a piece of paper towel, just dampened it a little bit, and I lay that on top while I'm working in between layers. So I have a little bit of melted butter ready and a pastry brush. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of the phyllo dough, and I'm just going to lay it right in the bottom of the pan. Like so. It doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, it doesn't fit perfectly. So I'm just going to tap it with a little bit of butter. Now you can try to brush it, but there is a chance that it could rip. If it rips, it's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. Just try to coat it as much as possible so that none of the layers dry out. As you can see, that's my first layer, and I'm going to add a second layer, and you can see that there's 2 sheets here. I'm not buttering in between each individual layer because it really doesn't need it. So I'd say butter every 2 layers, and that would work perfectly fine. So this is all I'm going to put on the bottom, and then we're going to go ahead and add in our filling. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the sheets. And as you can see, these sheets are way too long. So all I do is just overlap them on the sides and take a little bit of butter. Next layer. And as you can see, I put the excess amount on the opposite side, and I'm just going to fold it over. And I'm going to do about 5 layers of the phyllo dough. You can really do as many as you would like, but I think 5 is a perfect amount. So I'm going ahead and buttering the last layer. And what I'm gonna do after this is put it in the refrigerator for about 20 to 30 minutes. I want it to get nice and cool so that I can easily cut serving sizes, because you have to cut your portions before you put this in the oven. If you try to cut it once you actually baked it and bring it out of the oven, then it's just gonna crumble. The top's just gonna flake off like crazy and it's not gonna look pretty. And then you're gonna throw it in a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the top is nice and golden brown. So here is the beautiful final product. As you can see, it kind of represents baklava if you're looking from it from the surface, but once you dig into it, you see all the delicious goodies that are on the inside, and it smells so stinking good, you are going to be drooling when you make this. The thing I love most about this recipe is the variety of flavor. I love, love, love the butternut squash in here. The butternut squash is such a sweet complement to everything else in the dish. I know you guys are gonna love this recipe, so if you do want to recreate it, just look in the description box below because I'll have all the measurements as well as the written instructions. And if you did like this video, don't forget to smack that like button. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe because I have so many more recipes coming your way. And as always, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.